Trustee Ando is running late. He's stuck in APEC. He's coming from San Francisco. Yeah, and Trustee Kyle is not able to attend, so I think we've got quorum, and Trustee Ando will be here in about 10 to 15 minutes.
Okay. All right. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Board of Library Trustees, meeting of November 14th, 2023. The time is 6 p.m. I'll invite Ginger to call the roll.
Trustee Ando, Trustee Cortez,
Here.
Trustee Kyle, Trustee Lee,
Present.
Chair Vadot.
Here. Thanks, Ginger. And now I'll invite Ginger to explain how the public can participate in this evening's agenda.
Thank you, Chair Vadot. This meeting will be held in person and is being recorded and streamed live to Zoom at the link on the agenda. You may participate in person to provide public comment. Each speaker will have 3 minutes. You may also submit your comments by email by 4 p.m. on the day of the meeting. We are offering closed captioning for this evening's meeting on Zoom. Select the live transcript button on Zoom to enable this feature.
Thanks, Ginger. That'll call the first item, which is approving the regular meeting minutes of October 10th, 2023. Quick question though, since Jamie wasn't here for that meeting and Larry's not here right now, should we pick it to the end or wait for him to vote?
You also do not have to be present to vote for the minute.
Okay.
Or wait, because I was actually going to abstain from that since I wasn't here.
Yeah.
So
can we do that to the end or wait till Larry gets here?
We can do that till the end.
Okay, so we'll table that for now and then move on to open time for public expression. We'll open it up, but we're not doing Zoom live.
Yes, no.
Done.
Yep, so there's nobody here. So.
Okay, well then we'll close the time for public expression and move on to item number 2, which is special presentations, and we have a staff presentation from Baja.
I believe I have the ability to share my screen.
Yeah, there's 2 parts. Yeah. Oh.
All right, shall I get started?
Please.
All right, I think I've met all of you before. I'm Basha, I'm a supervising librarian, and I supervise the library branches, which is what my presentation is about. So since last time we introduced you to our collection and gave kind of an overview of that, I thought that this time would be a good opportunity to reintroduce you to the library branches and all the different communities that we serve. So we have our downtown library, of course, and then we also have the Pickleweed Library and the Northgate Library. And both of these libraries, as you can see by the photos, are pretty small, but they do they serve our community in important ways. So the Pickleweed Library was opened formally in 1997. It was renovated in 2006. And it is within the Albert J. Borrow Community Center out in Eastern San Rafael. So if you're looking at the building head on, it's on the left-hand side. It's got a separate door in and you can walk into the community center from it. And like it says in the bullet point, we primarily serve the Canal neighborhood there. A lot of people walk to the library. We serve, as you can see by the circulation stats, and as you might remember from the previous presentation, the highest circulating materials are children's materials in both English and Spanish. We have a lot of families who come with their children to check out our materials. We have really high attendance at the bilingual story times that we put on weekly. And it's pretty busy for a library that's as small as it is. The average weekly door count is about 565 people who come to visit the library. And because of its sort of unique position in San Rafael, we do have a lot of really unique programs and services that we offer to the community. So all of the staff who work at the Pickleweed Library are bilingual in either English and Spanish or English and Vietnamese to serve the English and Vietnamese speaking communities that live in the canal. We work with the Learning Bus, which is a program put on by Marin County Free Libraries, and they visit all of Marin County to give a sort of like pre-K, TK mobile library kind of an experience, which is completely free. They have a stop at Pickleweed in the park once a week. Currently it's on Tuesdays, so that's actually really nice. We're open Tuesday through Saturday. So sometimes Learning Bus, in the past, they've come on Mondays when we're closed to kind of like help fill that gap. They're a really great community partner. One Tam is also a really great community partner. We do a bilingual Ranger story time monthly with them. We do them usually more often in the summer, and that kind of like helps get the news out to the community, like, hey, we've got these amazing local parks. We've got park passes for free. You can come visit. This is like, here's this information about this awesome place that we live. And of course, we have a weekly bilingual story time that's put on by a number of bilingual staff, and that one's English and Spanish. And the Northgate Library opened in December 2018. It started as a collaboration between us and Marin County Free Libraries, where they lent us some of their collection to be housed in the library itself. And eventually we ended up kind of taking over it. It's within the Northgate Mall. So if you enter close to the movie theater side, hello. If you enter close to the movie theater side and you make a right, kind of like past the small former food court area, we're right there. And this primarily serves the Terra Linda neighborhood. And we have a lot of people who are very excited about our location because it's easier to come for the people on that side of the 101. It's easier for them to come to the mall than it is to cross the freeway and go to the Civic Center library. And our highest circulation is actually DVDs, followed by adult fiction. So we see a lot of adults as opposed to a lot of families at Pickleweed. We see a lot of older adults as well. It's a bit of a slower branch compared to Pickleweed. Our average weekly door count is about 305 people. In the past, we saw a huge amount, like of that weekly door count. It was almost entirely massed onto Saturdays, and the week was really slow. But I think as we've slowly come back, as things kind of change around the Northgate Mall, as we've had the farmers market in the past couple of months, which has been awesome, the door count has really evened out. So we're getting really, really steady numbers of people coming throughout the week. We're open Wednesday through Saturday. So it's a lot more limited in time than Pickleweed or the downtown library. But we really see like a steady crowd now. And because the Northgate Mall is small and inside of a mall, and the space is actually pretty unique. So let me head back. As you can see on the shelves, everything that we have at the mall is face out. This used to be a Payless shoe store. And the mall is a browsing collection. So we don't have anything on those like traditional shelves, and the space that we have to work with is pretty limited. So it's difficult to do the sort of traditional library programs, but we do host a weekly story time. We do have this Read to a Dog program with the Marin Humane Society that we do in kind of stages and chunks throughout the year. We use the Northgate Library as a sort of a pilot location for new services and collections, and particularly more kind of like new technology types of services and collections. So our 3D printing and VR drop-in services started at Northgate. Our video game collection started at Northgate. I believe our drop-in tech help also started at Northgate. Playaways for adult fiction, which are these kind of like preloaded MP3 players, starting at Northgate. We're looking to see how that's going to go and if we want to expand that to downtown and Pickleweed as well. And yeah, it's like I said, it's a browsing collection, so you can't put anything on hold. It's a lot of really brand new, really exciting titles. And the the collection staff work really, really hard to make sure that we do just have like really fresh new titles up for people to grab. And then here are some photos of programs at the Northgate Library and at Pickleweed. So the top two are Pickleweed. That's a bilingual story time that's being put on by an outside performer. The top right is Anime Your Way from the summer, which was like a little drawing workshop. Bottom left is Club de Lectura, which is our book club in Spanish. They use the Northgate space. And then we've got our stay and play at Northgate, which happens after the story times. And that's about it.
Thank you. Questions?
Yeah, are these, are the numbers going up, going down, the same?
For,
In your door counts, like,
I think they're pretty steady.
I pulled the average of the last year numbers. It haven't gone, and it's a little labor intensive. We should do that. I can't, we could look at the data from last year.
I think
Um,
comparing last year to this year,
more.
we've gotten busier. Anecdotally, Northgate definitely feels busier. I think that's just because people are getting used to where we're at. We still get people at least once a day who come in and say, I had no idea you were
Yeah.
here. It's like clockwork every day. But people are really excited about Northgate specifically. And I think Northgate, yeah, anecdotally has been going up. Pickleweed, I think, has been pretty steady.
Overall door counts have been rebounding a bit. They're still not where they were pre-pandemic.
Door count like a 305 and like 500 something for the pickleweed.
I think it was
560.
65 is a per day.
No, that's for the week. Yeah, that'd be great.
And you said that there's a most interest high circulation item was Northgate was DVDs.
Mhm.
Was it including the books like a hold and transfer pickup or just for the on-site checkout?
Think that's items that belong to the Northgate Library. Yeah,
So I'm guessing whoever walks in usually check out
Mhm.
with something.
yep, yeah,
Yeah.
and our Northgate items don't go anywhere. That's part of what makes the collection so special. You can't request anything to be pulled from Northgate and transferred. That's why we have like a high number of bestsellers, super popular titles. When they get checked in, they don't go anywhere, they just go right back on the shelf. So if you're,
Holds to bring them there.
Hmm?
Like I've done that before, where you
You
do
do-
holds pickup.
yeah,
Hold
you can
pickup.
have hold
Okay, okay.
pickup, but
You just
hold can't be pulled,
got it,
yeah.
okay.
So if you're number 300 on whatever it is, then
Yeah.
keep an eye on what's available at Northgate.
It's hours like same like 10 to 5.
Northgate's hours are 11 to 5. And Pickleweed varies throughout the week.
Are these, are the hours the same as like pre-pandemic hours, or are they?
Actually, don't know.
believe that when I mean, honestly, you two would probably, I think you two were here when that was discussed, Okay. Curious, maybe it's not a need. Overall, we have the same number of hours, if not slightly more than we did pre-pandemic, but we kind of adjusted where those hours were, and I think there's slightly less hours at Northgate. I know you have way more hours here. Slightly more at Pickleweed, and we have, I think the same, if not this more hours at downtown, because I think we pulled them earlier. It used to be 10 to 8, and now we're 9 to 7. And then Friday used to be, or not Friday, Sunday used to be noon to 5, and now we're 10 to 5. Yeah, I remember slight adjustments. Yeah, so there's slight adjustments here because the nighttime is really quite slow. And this is all based on the staff report that was, which is very
I
comprehensive.
don't think it was broken down by branch, but I know last month, Jill presented and there's more hours overall throughout the entire system than there was pre-pandemic.
And I think that might have to do with the Sunday, a lot with the Sunday hours here. And then I think Pickleweed also got slightly expanded.
I think so.
I really like the Payless shoe display of the books and years ago. That's how I browse. It's
Yeah,
hard to
patrons-
see it in the bind only. It's like you see the cover immediately. I know. And
Yeah,
find it.
people really like that.
Yeah.
I'm curious, and I may have missed this since I was late. Approximately how many people does it take to manage Northgate? How many staff does it take to? I mean, I know you have more people behind the scenes
Uh-huh.
at management, but in terms of people at the library,
In
can you
terms
get by
of
with 2 or 3, or how many?
to keep the doors open?
Yeah, to keep the doors.
Yeah, our bare minimum is 2 people.
Yeah, we
Okay.
typically
That's what-
staff
yeah.
2 people Wednesday through Friday and then 3 on Saturdays when it's a little busier. Is
Okay.
the goal?
Makes sense.
Yeah, but it's a slower branch, so 2 people can,
Oh, that's,
yeah, someone gets a break and someone can handle it and there's backup.
I know they're doing more stuff at Northgate, like more family friendly, kid friendly stuff, so I wonder if in the next. Yeah, I was actually just there, and they're opening an escape room pretty soon,
Yes.
so I wonder if they're gonna get more, traction and more. Foot traffic now because of that, and I know there's like an arcade, and there's like a roller.
Yeah.
Yep,
something
yep.
like that. Yeah, something like that, so, and I know that, there's that gymnastics place, it's the open gym on the weekends, so. It'll be interesting to see how all that affects it.
Yeah, I think I haven't looked at our door count to confirm this, but anecdotally, it does feel like the farmer's market has kind of like refreshed
Oh.
people's interest and kind of like put Northgate back on the map. It's definitely super busy on Thursdays. I know.
Like a big sign or something that tells people like.
They have signs, if you've ever been to the general, like that general area on a Thursday, they have all these big A-frames everywhere, like off the freeway exits. At a
Oh,
bunch
no,
of
but I mean for
intersections.
the mall,
For the
in the library, for the library, like at the farmer's market, you have like an apron?
We don't, but we have, we've got these like signs that are right by the doors. That the farmer's market is by that have our hours and stuff, and those signs are all around the mall, they've been there. But we have one with our hours and information that happens to be facing like right as you walk in. And that's also where the doors to the bathroom are, so I think people see that and then go, oh, hey, the library. So, yeah, plus I think people just, they finish up their shopping and they're like, hey, what's in the mall?
I don't think we have any public comment. So I think, we'll move on then.
Oh, I think there was a trip to, I think some organization did a bike repair at the Pickleweed.
Yes, that's one of the programs that we hosted, multiple times over in the summer. And we hosted one trip in, a bike ride trip in September and then one at the end of last month. Yeah, that's kind of a semi-regular program that we do.
I also happened to notice that Marine City Library had a Alcatraz trip. So I was wondering if something this could be organized, the Pickleweed Library, so some folks would, because of the cost, it's just they will never go to Alcatraz as a tour. But the library hosted as they meet at the library, they put it on the bus and go to the ferry terminal and then go to Alcatraz tour and come back, nothing.
And that's a really cool program.
Yeah, so, I mean, most of other parts of the library have done them, because their friends visiting and they do the tours with them. Like this,
Yeah, I think that kind of gets back a little bit to the kind of part of the conversation we were having last month about where are we investing our staff capacity and time, because right now we don't really have the staff bandwidth to assign folks to go and be, have
a
kind of
whole
that,
day.
do a whole
Yeah,
day
yeah.
programming like that, because we need folks to keep the building
Yeah.
open. And I think that's a conversation we're gonna wanna
Next year,
continue to
yeah.
dig into and look at, is like, yeah, what is that right balance of programming and open hours? How do we manage that? Have we found the sweet spot yet?
Yes.
That actually is a really good question. I'm sorry if you all talked about it last month, but, I don't know if I consider we have ever done it, but like for the patrons, has there been like a survey of like, what programs would you like to see? I feel like you must have done that, but like, do you do that often or like? You did? Oh. Well, I was gonna abstain, see? Yeah, it's, I think that's something we wanna do. We wanna I know that there was that. It was a while, it was probably like in 2018, 2017. There were some studies done around that, around like the group 4. It was about the facility, but it was also about like how the community wants to use the library and what the community's looking for in the library. And I would say anything from like pre-pandemic probably isn't super relevant anymore. So yeah, it's time for us to figure out how, to kind of ask those questions again. Thank you.
Thanks, Raj, appreciate it. So since Larry is now here, I think we'll go back to the item. We were needing your vote for item number 1. Or vote, so thanks, Raj.
I know it's good for something.
So go back to item number 1 is for approval of the regular meeting minutes of October 10th, 2023. Does anyone had a chance to review the minutes? So also a motion, or if not, we can discuss it.
I reviewed the minutes and I moved to approve the minutes from last month.
I'm
sorry.
No, we don't have it.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
did.
Okay, I'll second. Invite Ginger to call roll call vote. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, trustee Ando,
Yes, or I.
trustee Cortez,
Abstain?
trustee Kyle, trustee Lee,
I.
chair Vidot.
Aye. Thanks, Ginger. All right, and now move on to item number 3. Just selection of board chair and vice chair.
So I didn't prepare any slides for these agenda items. They're pretty straightforward. So on an annual basis, we select a chair and vice chair for kind of the coming years. We typically do that at our last meeting of the calendar year, which is this one. In the staff report, I kind of noted typically that rotates every year. We're in a bit of a different situation right now because both our chair and vice chair have not served a full term. Chair Vidot was appointed in June, when former chair, Cheryl Tini termed off and in the middle of her term. So, the board may do whatever they want, but our recommendation would be to continue to reappoint Chair Vidot and Vice Chair Andal, and we do have quite a lot of new folks, so there's gonna be time still for everybody to cycle through.
It's like there's no way. I don't want to do that.
Jamie's itching for the throne again.
Yeah.
Well, let's see, okay,
You have to call for a motion.
Yeah.
well, is there any comment from you guys about that?
How do you feel? You ready?
Ready,
Somebody else wants to.
getting comfortable and then. Okay, and then we don't have any anyone in the audience for public comments, so call for a motion.
Motion to approve the selection of the board chair, Vidot, and vice chair, and to continue.
Second.
I'll invite Ginger to call roll call vote.
Trustee Ando,
I think I can vote aye, even though I'm voting on my own.
You have it,
Aye.
trustee Cortez, trustee Kyle, trustee Lee, chair Vidot.
Aye.
Yay, congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks, Ginger. Move on to item number 4, which is reviewing the 2024 Board of Trustees meeting schedule.
This one I will share my screen. There it is. And on an annual basis, we establish the calendar for the next fiscal year. Historically, the library board has met the second Tuesday of each month. We used to meet at 7 p.m. Now we meet at 6 p.m. So that was changed just a few years ago. We have also recently started going dark in August and December, which just for, we've got the board and commission holiday event in December, and then we usually have a lot of folks traveling in August for the holiday for the summer. So that's pretty typical to go dark those 2 months, where staff is recommending we continue to do this year. Staff's also recommending that we do not hold a meeting in January. Typically, we would review the work plan for the coming year. I have prepared that for us to review tonight. I think I realize I'm not sure if I've shared this with everyone, but Jill Tokutomi is currently on leave, and so we're having a little bit of staff capacity issues and not quite sure when that might resolve. So I'm proposing that we cancel the January meeting as well. There's also not anything at the moment on the agenda that would be urgent or time sensitive for that. Yeah.
No, right, keep going.
Oh, I guess then I was just gonna say here, we have up here kind of the dates. I tried to look if I didn't see any conflicting major holidays. The April 9th meeting, I think as in prior years, does fall on this week of spring break. So I wanted to call that out in case we felt that would be problematic.
Have to move to the following week?
Well, yeah, I will be out of town that April 9th.
If you wanna move.
Meeting,
to
so-
different week, I'm okay.
Can I just ask a question? Sorry to interrupt, but these days are not matching with these days. So which day are we talking about? Are we talking about the
I'm
work?
sorry.
days? We're talking about these.
I
days?
probably didn't update the work.
I just wanted to make, okay, okay.
Yeah, I did not update the work. plan.
Okay, so we're
Thank you
looking
for
at
that.
these. I was so confused. I was like, I must have really missed something last week.
Oh my God, I totally, wow.
Plan is.
That's totally
The
fine.
winter plan is totally off.
Okay,
Sorry.
so,
What, it's the
crossed out
content, just don't pay
Yes.
attention to the
okay, so
actual.
these are the dates. Okay,
Yeah, the dates on this one are correct. I even have a I think no, I didn't.
is that ski week too? Or, whatever. you hate that-
I don't
hate that week.
think it is.
Is
Yeah,
it?
I did pull up the.
Oh, yes, you're right. Yeah, I found it.
San
Okay.
Rafael City School.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a new preschool that follows the Northgate School District calendar, and I don't know why.
Oh, that's cool. Well,
But Nikki's.
oh, that's where my daughter went.
Oh, nice. Yeah, like I said, my only thing is April 9th, I will be out of town, so. I think we can have a quorum. I'm happy to miss it. Otherwise, I would ask to. move it.
To the following week? I'm okay with the following week.
I guess the question is how many folks are, it's nice to stay on just for like the
Yeah.
public, ease of
Yes.
knowing. If we're gonna have quorum, I would recommend we keep it that date, but if it looks like there's got more than 2 members out, then maybe we would.
I think we should, if we're gonna do it, I would go the week earlier, because obviously the next week is this break. Like, if we're not gonna do February 13th, I would.
Oh,
propose-
no, we're talking about
Okay,
April
April
9th.
Oh,
Just jumping back. and forth.
okay, all right, sorry. So April 9th, you're proposing to,
To the
I
extent
think the
of-
question is how many folks are not a bit, will be missing April 9th because of spring break. Or other reasons.
At this point, I'm here on the 9th. of
plan that
April.
far ahead, so.
We just.
We can also just keep it and,
They're changing it.
and change it if we need to be. We can also see if there's. What's on the agenda, if we don't have quorum, if it needs to be rescheduled, we can reschedule it, or if we can just push the items till May, we can do that too.
This is just a question I have to, I notice on, the agenda that's not calling for a vote, do we need to approve this schedule though?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, we
that's-
dropped
that's-
it.
All right, just wanted to make sure, because it wasn't appearing in my script,
Mhm.
but, does anyone else have any other comments about just the schedule, and then we can move on to the work plan?
I do, I mean, I know we go dark in August. I never make the July meeting. That's when my vacations always are, and I'm curious, I know this is sort of answering both questions, but what is the downtown library renovation closure plan? Because I guess I would ask, if it is something important, then I would ask to either move the meeting or cancel that one and do August, vice versa, or if we can move the work plan, but I know we're not on the work plan, but I just wanted to, before we vote on that, I wanted to.
Right, yeah, I was kind of debating which to do first, the work plan or the schedule, they're so intertwined. So that is so as I think you all know, we're gonna have to close for the renovations, the downtown.
Oh, that's what that
branch.
means. Oh,
So what that agenda item is intended to kind of share with the board what our plans are for continuing operations during the closure. Cause at this point, the timeline is looking like we'd probably close in September. So that's kind of the last board meeting before that. I mean, my hope, that's gonna be a pretty large lift logistically. My hope is we have a plan before July. But that was kind of, so that's what that is kind of continuity of operations and how we're gonna continue to provide services while that location is undergoing renovation.
Usually my family schedule seems like always might be not available on July, so it's like. It's not terrible. Yeah. Particular case like, so, it will rather dark on July than the meeting on August, but it might possibly. It's also step. Has to be. They are available.
And does it make sense maybe to go dark in July and then go August?
That could be, yeah, that's a decision the board can make.
Then at least we're all here to know about the closure plan.
Sure.
I mean, it worked for me, I don't know.
That would be better for me.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
it's fine.
Yeah.
On what day in August?
It would be the second
August 13th.
Tuesday, so yeah, the 13th.
So instead of July 9th, do August 13th.
Actually, that's work better for me, so.
Right. Um,
August 18th. Okay. So about the school starts.
The 13th, yeah, that would be about a week or so
before,
before, yeah.
School starts.
so unless there's any other comment, any other conflicts, I'll move to adopt the 2024 Board of Trustees meeting schedule with the one amendment that instead of July 9th, 2024, the board will meet August 13th, 2024,
Second,
Dark July.
and go
July, yeah.
and go dark in July.
I'll second that.
Great, thank you, and I'll invite Gender to call a roll call vote.
Trustee Ando,
Aye,
trustee Cortez,
I,
trustee Kyle, trustee Lee,
I
Chair Vidot,
Aye.
okay, so.
Oh, I'm sorry. I totally, I completely, all right, move on to item number 5, review of the trustees work. I just lost it.
What, and then my vote now?
Really, it's, the chamber.
Alright, oh, this one is, wait, that was what happened.
It's weird. I'm not the only one who missed it. I'm not the only one.
But yeah.
I was, okay, so. Our last housekeeping item as we prepare for 2024, which is still boggling my mind a little bit. is looking at the draft work plan for 2024 for kind of the items that staff are planning to bring to the Board of Trustees. So I do just want to, share a little bit that this is something we started doing in 2020. So it hasn't been that long that we've been kind of developing a work plan, but this has been a really helpful tool for staff as we're kind of planning out the year, and then as board meetings are come, it kind of reminds us of things that we wanted to. It gives us just a little bit of chance to do some strategic thinking around the board and the things we might want to bring to the community. And so this is always, there is always a draft on this. It is always a working document. As the year goes on, things come up that we hadn't originally planned on that we'll want to bring to the board. There may be some things in here that we realize we're just not quite ready, or got deprioritized for whatever reason. But this is a really good time for us to kind of share with you all what's coming in the year ahead, as well as to get your input on anything you might like to see. For example, the presentation we made last month with the statistics was at the request of I believe, Trustee Lantini. So we do really want to hear your input and your feedback on anything that seems of particular interest to you. But the agenda items, kind of the drafts that we have right now, in February, we are looking at bringing an update on some changes to MarinNet staffing. And we thought about doing just an overview of MarinNet, the services that it provides and the benefit that the San Rafael Public Libraries get from being part of the MarinNet consortium. And that group has been doing, they hired on a consultant this past year to look at some strategic changes to the JPA, to their staffing model, and to make some recommendations. And I hope by February we'll have some of that nailed down in a way that it makes sense to present. Might take a little bit longer than that, but I think in the first quarter of 2024 we should have some things there.
You mentioned JPA?
Joint powers agreement. So it's basically just like the contract that we all have signed on to that governs MarinNet. And then for the staff presentation, we're thinking about doing computing and technology at the library. So kind of an overview of the technology services, computer usage, and all of those that kind of program area. In March, so probably within the next few months, we're going to be issuing an RFP for the Pickleweed branch renovation. So that is the second Building Forward grant that we received. We've been kind of trying to take those two on in like a stepwise way, just from a staff capacity standpoint. We prioritize the downtown first, and then we'll be working on the Pickleweed. That one's a little bit more straightforward. It's kind of just an interior renovation. There's also been a lot of renovations that are in the process at Pickleweed through a major park renovation project that's happening down there. And we thought that would pair nicely with a presentation on our library services for Spanish speaking patrons. We have, and this one, it kind of depends on how our review of library policies goes. If we determine that there's going to be kind of a number of changes to different policies that staff are looking at recommending, we might do this in a couple different chunks throughout the year. But it has been a while since some policies we've reviewed and updated recently, and some it's been a while. So we wanted to kind of do a comprehensive look at our policies and make sure they're still reflective. For example, our overarching library use guidelines were last updated in 2018, and that was a while ago at this point. So we will be bringing anything more than just kind of like administrative minor changes we would like to bring to the board so that the public has the opportunity to comment, and that's kind of done transparent. Any changes are made transparently. We also thought that providing the board with an overview of the de-escalation training that's all staff receive might be of interest. I think this is an element of librarianship and library work that is not always understood or seen. The work that our staff does every day on de-escalation, on dealing with folks that are in mental crisis and kind of going through really challenging times in life. And so we thought it'd be beneficial for the board to see what sort of to kind of get an overview of the trainings that we provide staff around that. So in May, we're looking at on a biannual basis, the city council establishes goals and policies for the whole city. And I realize we have not actually presented what our department, kind of how that rolls down to our department. So we were actually in the middle of the 2-year cycle. But we thought it would be good to give an update on the goals that we've accomplished in year 1 and kind of what the goals are for year 2 that we'll be tackling on. And those are done on the fiscal year. So July to June. The June meeting, we're gonna focus on kind of our normal report on our summer at the library and the programs we have planned over the summer. As well as kind of more Northgate specific programming and outreach. July, we talked about will now be August. We'll be presenting the closure plan and kind of continuity of service while the downtown library is closed for renovation. June is also the California Library Association conference, which we usually send a handful of staff to. And they have historically presented to the board on kind of the key takeaways from the conference. In September, we're hoping to this might be a little bit of a fast turnaround, but we'll see. We'd have the concept design for the Pickleweed Branch renovation. So that would be whatever architect is selected will come and kind of present what the plan is for the Pickleweed Branch renovation. And we'd also kind of pair that with a presentation on our programming and community outreach in Pickleweed in the Canal neighborhood. In October, we do a follow-up on our state library data for next year and kind of the trends we're seeing. And then the November meeting would be kind of similar to tonight's, where we'd do all the housekeeping for the following year. Some other topics we've thought about that might get slotted in. We know 2 months ago, the foundation came and presented kind of on what they're currently doing. This is one of the first times that I believe typically there has been someone from the Friends of the San Rafael Public Library Foundation on the board, and I think they've all cycled through and are no longer here. So I was thinking it might be nice to have them come and present on what they do. And as well as some of our services and outreach for older adults. That might be another one we slot in there. But we'd love to hear any comments, questions, or feedback on things you'd like to see.
I was gonna say, well, I mean, because you mentioned it, that this presentation on statistics from last month. I don't know if that's subsumed in any of these.
Yeah, that is the October 20 California
that's
State
right.
Library data.
That seemed similar, but I just want to make sure
Yeah.
it's specific to us too.
Yes,
Cool.
that is the thing.
And then I think I mentioned this one last year, but I would love to really see if there can be some sort of focus on, not focus, and I know there's been staffing issues and obviously staff capacity, but I think trying to see like how we can go after various grants, because I know when Henry was here, he presented on a grant he found sort of like one-off from, I think, in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And it really, I can't remember the amount, but I think it was used, just for 3D printing or something like that. So I think it'd be great to get a presentation on that and see if we can maybe formalize a process. I know, again, staffing, there's no, one person can't be dedicated to necessarily doing grant writing, but it seems like that would be a great resource to tap into if we could. And I'd love to see if there could be a process implemented or a presentation or something about it.
That grant though was not us going after it. That was when they just gave us the grant, right?
I think
That was a very
Because that
odd.
was from when we got a call where I work, and
Oh,
that's
is that
that
what it
grant,
is?
right? Or are you talking about a
I
separate?
believe so,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah,
it was a very weird grant
Yeah.
where they basically were just like, here's
Their
$30,000.
foundation called-
You don't need to tell us what you did with it. You don't need to report anything.
Their foundation had called asking
Oh,
us
oh.
like about, who's doing good work in like equity with them. I was like, I know who is and stuff, but I think what we had said too, if I recall, was like. It would be that, you know, the library's goal is to reach out again and say like, is that something that is, you know, continuing interest, because that wasn't, you know. I don't know if that ever happened.
Right, and then I think that again, maybe, you know, obviously goes to
Yeah.
staffing and. See.
And we can definitely kind of keep that on the list, The staff capacity piece, there's like two parts to that. There's the capacity to actually research and write grants, which is actually easier than the capacity to implement grants. So, you know, if you're getting a grant, you usually have to do something with that money. It doesn't typically just go for like your operating expenses. And
Right.
so then having the capacity to implement a new program or things like that. So that's, we'd have to look at that as well. So it's kind of, it all gets back to the
You know, I
you know, the
totally
other
appreciate.
conversation of,
Is-
what's the priority?
Is there a grant writer at the city level?
No.
Um,
No, it's our staff take on everything needs to occur. Yeah, so typically, I mean, it depends on the grant, who's kind of has the most expertise in the particular area, but that is just assigned to staff. We don't have any additional capacity beyond that.
Isn't there, library, the new tax measure they try to put on, is there any other things we need to be?
Probably, once they put it on, we really won't be able to discuss it much in this forum,
Yeah,
because since this is a city, you know, city council appointed board, and that will then be getting into campaigning and, yeah. But I'm sure in your private time, they would love for you to participate.
Signatures. and stuff.
Yeah.
I would like, since we are not meeting until February, to get an update in February about the renovation of the main library. I think I may be behind on this, but I think you went out to RFP and then let the contract, if I remember correctly, or we're going to let the contract. And given that it's gonna happen next year, if I'm with closing it, I'd just like to refresh myself on, because I know there's a lot to it, if I remember. There's a lot of infrastructure that you'll be changing, and then you've got the new book.
Circulation.
Yeah, I'd just be curious to get an update in February, I think, just to kind of remind us in the new year as to what's happening, maybe even how costs and contracts came in generally.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I'll have
Okay,
something to report. I can.
yeah, wherever it makes sense, Catherine,
It's a big.
Last time, architect, the phone, I remember the name.
Yeah, and this, I was gonna
Maybe the
share this
building.
in my staff updates, but I could just say it now, that we did, so. We had the original contract with Nolan Tam that was for like conceptual design. I think it was in October, one of the October meetings, maybe council meetings, they approved an additional contract with Nolan Tam to start working on like more of the construction documents, architectural drawings. So that's where we're at right now. We've got electricians and mechanical engineers crawling all over the building, really trying to get a sense of what's going on under the hood and get that kind of scoping, and so we can start putting it out to bid for construction. Yeah, so hopefully by February, I don't know that we'll have, we probably won't have construction bids yet, but we'll be all on our way to that.
thank you.
And yeah. We also, at that point, will have a better sense of what the foundation is doing, which also plays into the future of that building.
What's the, trustees could able to see the about the final drawing of the layout. I think we did some input for certain things on the layout. Last time they presented was just,
Maybe we
oh,
could,
this is too early to preliminary drawing, so maybe it's all.
I was on leave when that was
Yeah.
presented, so I have to go back and look at the documents of what was presented and,
Yeah.
Like when they showed us like the children's room
Yeah.
might be here and this is where the entrance is.
in general, those are still the same. There might have been a few minor changes, and probably will continue to be some changes as we go forward. I think some of the things we're realizing is like moving the public computing is actually gonna be quite expensive. Because you have to change the network infrastructure, and our network infrastructure is very old, and once you touch it. So I think there may be some changes to the scope that we could, but we haven't gotten there yet.
might be a good thing.
Yeah.
See where we're at in February then. Sure.
I think that,
Go ahead.
I think the one other thing that, feel like, I don't know what we've called it, but last year, and I think a few years, we've really presented, and I think it's just it's a great showcase to what you're doing. It's sort of like all of your equity and diversity work that you're doing, like your race equity work, just all around. And I remember you all been presenting at different times, and I think it was on a work plan before at a certain, anyway, I think it's a great
Yeah.
opportunity anyways for us to hear. So wherever you think that's a fit, but no, I don't mean collections.
No, I know, but sorry, but that, it just got me thinking that that is one of our actual goals and objectives for. Is around doing an equity audit, a diversity and equity audit of our collection, so. And I had that on here, and we might have taken it off for a reason, but I can't remember now, but I'm gonna also say kind of general equity. Yeah, the city's also doing a lot of that work too, so if that's of interest, kind of the city's general, DEIB work, diversity, equity, inclusion and belonging is kind of how the city is looking at it, or if you're thinking more specifically,
Before.
yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
haven't heard that.
belonging, yeah.
Jedi.
Yeah.
That's just equity, diversity, and.
So,
Much to keep.
yeah, the California Park Rec Society uses Jedi.
Whatever you think is right, but I think it's just, I think you've just presented great things before, and I think it's need to highlight it on record, all the work that you're doing.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So I guess one question on the possible topics, obviously, we're not slotting them in yet, but are these just things that then staff will consider about when might be?
Yeah, when we're kind of looking at our agendas,
Okay.
we look at what we intended for that specific month, and then we also look at, as things fall off and for other topics, or, yeah.
Comments on the work plan?
I just continue looking at the map from the last time the Northern Time presented. I'm still think about the first floor having the this main welcoming service desk, circular service desk behind the staircase, which is kind of too far from the entrance.
I don't know if that has to do with the work plan though.
No, but the thing is, this is my input that I don't know if it has been changed or not. So that's something I'm curious for. But just because what I heard at that time was children's room will not have a step, their own step inside, but just one person outside.
Can, if you
Okay.
wanna
Okay.
chat with us, as I think trustee Cortez was getting at, this isn't an agendized item, so we can't
Okay.
really discuss it in too much detail.
Yeah.
But I'd have to, I'm not sure, again, I wasn't here, and I'm not sure how the feedback
That
is
is-
integrated, yeah.
That's interesting.
I think, thanks to trustee Anda for suggesting a February update. So I'll move to adopt the 2024 work plan of the library board of trustees as amended.
Yeah.
And I'll invite Ginger to call the roll.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear who seconded that motion.
Cortez.
Okay.
Cortez, Cinder.
Got it. Okay. Trustee Ando,
Aye.
trustee Cortez,
Aye.
trustee Kyle, trustee Lee,
I,
chair Vidat.
Aye. Thanks, Ginger. And move on to item number 6, staff liaison reports, program updates, reports on any meetings, conferences, and or seminars attended by its.
Yeah, so. Nice one, I think, trustee Lee and Kyle yesterday joined us at the Library Foundation, their annual donor event. So that was nice. It was at the Santa Fe Community Center. It was at 3 o'clock yesterday. They presented kind of it was very similar to the presentation you all received. They've kind of refined their thinking and plans a little bit more. They've drafted up in ballot initiative language that they're still fine tuning. They have not yet fully voted as a foundation to do the initiative, but they are still working in that direction pretty aggressively. So I think we should find out probably no later than their January meeting, but likely at their December meeting. So they're continuing to meet with different community groups and refine what they're looking at doing. I kind of provided a little bit of the update on the downtown library renovation, so that's proceeding. We'll hopefully do a more detailed update in February. To be honest, at this point, Public Works is kind of taking over a little bit more of the workload. Our staff were really more involved in kind of problem identification, design, workflow, prioritizing what the project will include, and now it's time to really get to the nuts and bolts of like, what does the wiring look like, which is beyond my expertise and skill set, which is why we've got engineers on staff. So, but it's all very exciting. And now I think our staff are really starting to think about that interim solution, and because it does look like the library will probably be closed about 6-ish months. So we want to make sure that we're still able to provide the most important services to our community. And then
is it okay to ask a question? Sure. Is there like an engineer who's assigned from the
Public Works? Yeah.
Who's assigned?
Bobby Can Erfer. I'm not very good at her last name. She's the one who oversaw or has overseen all of the city's public safety renovations, so the public safety center and all the fire stations, and now she's helping us with this one. Yeah, so she knows old buildings. Yeah. So that, and then we also in the next few months are going to start working on the pickleweed RFP and getting that process going, which will also be exciting. So I think that's probably the big updates from staff.
I'll open it up for questions from trustees.
I'm sorry if I missed this, but when you're closing now for 6 months, is there an alternative?
That's what we'll be.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, so I think, we've had a few brainstorming ideas like, hey, is there an empty storefront downtown that might give us a deal for a few months, or
I think here.
it's City Hall?
Yeah.
I hadn't thought about that. That's an option.
There's a base, I think there's a basement.
Yeah,
That's what they were saying. I'm just saying, I just remember that conversation.
I mean, PD obviously moved, but now parking services, our digital department. Sustainability, we have a few different departments that are housed there now. Not sure if there's more space that we need to look into. The community center is obviously another space. There's not a lot of space there, but in a pinch, if there's could be just for pickup or something. So we're gonna dream big, hopefully a storefront, and if that doesn't pan out, what are other alternatives? Lockers, to pick up lockers. But we also have to think about staff space, there's a whole lot of, we're gonna be meeting with some. Consultant that actually does this type of planning and work and it supports agencies figuring this stuff out.
I was gonna say, what did the Hayward Library do?
I don't know. Yeah, so
Just
that's
out of
all the,
curiosity.
yeah, that's what we're gonna be spending the next
Okay.
6 months
Your
talking to
spare time
people.
talking about.
Yeah, you know, a lot of the MCFL libraries have undergone similar renovations in the last few years, so. I'm talking about what they've done.
I feel like there's some which store is out of business or something downtown somewhere.
There's a lot of different options. Yeah, it's a little tricky because obviously
Yeah.
business or building owners want their spaces permanently leased, not just like
Right.
you know, few months. But we'll see, there might be some.
Close item number 6, move on to item number 7, other brief reports on any meetings, conferences, or seminars attended by board members. Anybody have anything they'd like to report?
The lawn meeting tonight. Yeah.
Such as life.
Yeah.
So nothing library specific. Okay. Well, then I will, we don't have anyone for public comments, so
Oh, okay.
Maybe
You're
I-
gonna close. I just have something before.
yeah, please.
Now's the time, right?
Your report out.
You're-
Oh, okay.
Board member.
I just, and obviously not something that's on the agenda we can talk about. I was curious, thinking about meetings. Is one of the conversations that we've been having in different places where I'm a board member before was thinking about, and we did this like 100 years ago when I was on the board. We haven't really done more of like a meet and greet with staff, like library staff, but I would be interested. I don't know if others are interested, but I feel like it's not as, it just feels like less connected. And so I thought maybe there's an opportunity one time to do something
Add
of
that, I can add that to the work plan.
It's agenda.
thinking, yeah.
I mean.
I think-
I mean, maybe that April meeting, if folks thought we could reschedule that as something in the library, you know, I mean, we want to do it at a different time because.
Yeah, I know they're
most of our
working.
staff don't work.
Right, you're not gonna drag them all in. It's
Right, yeah. Ideas.
I remember like the library staff having a tour to different place in the city a few months ago. I remember. So I thought, oh, we could have something like that too.
I mean, our park and rec commission, we started doing park tours. You know, there's fewer libraries than that. But.
And maybe-
We can't visit them.
maybe one of the meeting days we could make it like noon, can obviously figure out, or something like in the workday that we could all visit the libraries.
I personally appreciate that, at least at the meetings I've been to, when there's been a presentation about a specific issue or program of the library, that Jill and Catherine have brought in a person from the library staff to make that presentation, because that's kind of how I've gotten to know the various staff of the library. So in that sense, I have gotten to know a few people, although it's been more formal because they're making a presentation. You can't just go up to them and say, all right, but I do want to mention that because I
Yeah,
think it has
totally.
been, for me anyway, it's been very helpful, Catherine, that you and Jill reach out and bring in staff.
Yeah, oh, and I was actually just thinking that we have we typically have like it's not a holiday, end of year.
Staff department.
Staff little
Session.
celebration of sorts, maybe in the past we have invited the board.
Yeah, like, this is a long.
Yeah,
Anyway, it was way pre-pandemic.
yeah, yeah.
It was like my first.
Yeah, yeah,
But that's why, yeah.
maybe we can do something like that. We're on this, at our staff meeting this Friday, we're gonna be asking staff, cause typically we've done a potluck and the question is, do people still want to do pot? Like, is that, you know, we've had a lot of staff turnover. Is that still what they would like, or would they just like see different things? Is that better? So, we'll be figuring that out. I think it would be wonderful for you all to be invited if you're not able to. We do, all of that stuff is typically done 9 o'clock on Friday mornings because we open late.
Personally, like I'm here, every here upstairs, like every week, every 2 weeks, and always chatting with whatever, and been here a long time, so I was asking him, "I don't know where your desk is, come over." So he's dragging me to
Into the basement.
wow, it's like really cramped in here. Yeah, so I got a tour.
They're just as patrons, but I don't know how many, I don't go in and say I'm like a board member, you know?
You don't bring this with you? I just,
Because the gender make fun of me, you know. It's mine, I go, "Silly."
this happens, share for 9 years. I think that'd be really wonderful to meet the staff and maybe do the end of the year, that's like, opportunity.
If you see me at the board of trustees holiday event and I have not yet invited you, just remind me. I will make every effort to remember. But as we can see from my work on the work plan this year. The detail.
One month is there.
Yeah, that's great.
Everyone's so busy, right? I'll adjourn the meeting.
All right.
We can chill. We're, thanks, Ginger.